Gentlemen, we are coming at you live from episode 57 of Life on the Rocks with your host, Connor Rocques. Today's featured guest in the hot seat is Mr. Jay Doran, the culture man. How you doing today, brother?
Is the seat hot because I'm sitting in it, or?
I think it's a little bit of a mix of both. I would give it both. But for anybody who doesn't know who Jay is currently, I mean, you're going to get to know him after this. This gentleman knows culture better than anybody in the world. I met him at an event actually a number of months ago, 5 months ago. He is the CEO of Culture Matters. People are wondering, though, Jay, what got you started in business, my friend?
It's interesting because I've got, coincidentally, this book in my lap here. And if I open up this page, it says that the Sarissa Spear Formation was created by King Philip and his son Alexander. Now, if you know anything about Alexander the Great, he had an immense amount of psychological conflict with his father. Well, in 1991, 3 men were asked to take a birth test to see who the father was. 2 of them showed up, and they weren't the father. 1 didn't, and that was my father, who I never met.
Oh, wow.
And I would say that I was born to be an entrepreneur out of the psychological conflict of growing up, never having felt like I had been loved, or was able to love anyone. And
Right.
It created this psychological confusion of like resentment and anger and desire to want to be more for other people, which I would say is the beginning of what started my business.
Absolutely.
When I was born.
Talk about how that.
And knowing, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Or no,
that's one way to open up a conversation.
No, absolutely. And I remember I saw you speak live on stage in Beverly Hills, about maybe not even 2 months ago. And Jay, I want you to talk about the psychology behind this and how that's pushed you to who you are now, going through that adversity, that pain, to where you are now, a very successful young man.
I would say all life comes from conflict. The question is, how do we resolve it? I'll give you an example. It hurts really a lot, I'm sure, I wouldn't know from experience, to bear a child. However, look what happens. Life is on the other side. Why would we start a business? Well, usually the business is someone's vision to a solution of a problem first. And the profit is the margin in between what it costs to solve the problem and what comes in. But the profit is the effect of the cause, which is the solving of the problem. So the business, or I would argue all great things in life, comes from conflict. So that's why I say when people ask me, well, when did your business start? Well, of course it started when there was an LLC. Of course it started when that business was clearly defined in a vision and a mission. But really, since the business and anyone's business is just a reflection of who they are and how they operate in the world first, well, then my business that I operate today, which is a reflection of who I am, it was really started the day I was born. And then everything that ever happened in my life for me to then associate meaning to my life, to then drive me to have the behaviors who I have today. So I was born with a gift of psychological conflict that I have had to overcome in my life to grow as a person that has inspired me to gain loving significance by inspiring other people to be better humans. And it's interesting. Alexander the Great, someone I highly respect. I'm giving this book away to a company, the CEO that I'm speaking at in a couple hours, because this individual was extremely conflicted. And what can we learn from him? He was 19 years old when he took over his father's army, King Philip II, who he had a lot of conflict, father-son relationship, a lot of resentment, a lot of not feeling loved, a lot of conflict, and he conquered the known world and never lost a battle. He read a lot of books. He had a clear vision. He trained his troops every day. He led from the front. But to answer your question, I don't even know what it was, but it's conflict. Conflict is very important.
What about? I want to ask you though, Jay. So you look at a lot of these people in our market. We were talking about this before, and it almost seems like we dumb it down in the personal development field. We have to really dumb it down.
Oh my God.
But let me ask you this. So for somebody, I think I was talking to Mark Lack last week, and I asked him, how do you find your niche, right? And we were talking about this over the phone. But for you, what was it that made you define it as culture matters? Like, what is it? So your niche is obviously culture. I've never talked to anybody in my life that knows culture better than yourself.
That's because most of the books that they're reading are Cat in the Hat and Dr. Seuss.
That's right.
You've got to stretch your mind to have new ideas and actually articulate visions of a solution to problems that don't exist yet. That's called a visionary. And to do that, you have to stretch yourself. So how did that happen? Well, number one, it can be now. There's two types of experiences. There's the objective and there's subjective. Objective is what you see because it's like real in front of you, like I can touch this book. And then there's the subjective experiences, which means your imagination. Mm-hmm. Well, objectively, and really we can't prove, by the way, like whether it is a difference, objective, subjective, because we don't know. I mean, shit. Anyway, I had an experience where we had a brick and mortar business, and I had read a book that inspired me to transcribe the values of our company, which we had not created yet. So we created these values. We created them. We articulated them in words with meaning behind them to then use in the team meetings to inspire people that worked for and with us to think of new ideas that they could do in their business, like greeting people, like reading, like developing themselves, like following up. We use these values and their meaning in the team meetings to inspire them and train them on how to be better humans and better employees. And what happened to me at 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock, basically every day, no one was paid to be there. They wanted to be there. And my whole life changed that moment, in those moments, in those weeks, in those months.
Right.
And I thought, why don't I, like, this is making me feel worthy. This is working. People are
maybe fulfillment.
They're coming to me and saying that this means something to them. Now, and that reflected in our bottom line. It reflected in the people that would drive 20 minutes out of the way to come to this place of business. So that was enough of a driving force or an inspiration to start educating myself deeply on the psychological and neuropsychological and sociological, mythological, physical and biological components and disciplines of creating a cult-like following. And, having studied thousands of books since, here we are. And it took 4 years to deconstruct myself and reconstruct myself and develop a program to be able to help CEOs get clear on their values and develop that. That was the motivation, though.
That was the
something
motivation.
Happened,
No,
something
absolutely.
happened. It was like it slapped me in the face.
The big break. Yeah, exactly. Like the break. Tony Robbins would say. Yeah, they gave you a little backhand. So what made you choose? So you want to go right to the core. So go right to the CEOs. How difficult is it for you to get in with some of these CEOs? Because arguably, I mean, we've seen it. I watched it live, like where you went in out of nowhere. You get in with a guy like Grant Cardone's guy, Brad Lee. You know what I mean? And now you're doing business with people like this kind of thing. How did you build it to that point? Because, I mean, a lot of people struggle to even get their foot in the door with somebody while you're going in with these big top CEOs and training them. How did you build it?
I'll give you an example. I'll give you a clear example. After having done hundreds of videos on my personal Facebook, which cost no money other than having something to say, taking your damn phone you're spending $200 a month on or whatever, getting in front of it, saying the truth, and putting it out there consistently for hundreds of days straight, having been friends with someone that owns a company with 120 employees, the other day, 2 months ago, I walked into this place with one of my employees, a camera guy, and some high schooler that was shadowing us for the day because we speak at a lot of high schools.
Right.
We had the kid following us. We just walked into this company with about 115 employees and said, "We're here to see the owner."
I love it.
And the lady at the front desk, like, "What the hell is?" I could tell with her demeanor. Now I'm happy.
Yeah.
Here to see him.
I know you're always.
She's looking at me like I got 7 heads. What the hell is going on? The owner knew exactly who I was. He's like, "Jay, you're in. Let's do a tour." So I got on Facebook Live, and we did a tour around the office. That was easier to go walk into that company because I have put value out to the world, giving authentically. I'm just telling the truth consistently, that the person knew who I was, because that's the power of social media. Then now we're developing a relationship. I learned about this person more than I had learned because Facebook, you only learn so much. And I'm sure we're going to do some things together. We're supposed to film sometime, probably the end of the month or September. That's one example. That I could have 1,000 examples like that. Well, not 1,000. I have a yacht, right? I have 1,000 examples like that of just giving. You could do that with your phone that you're watching this on right now. But this is the thing, you know, and the vision for Culture Matters is to live in a world where every man, woman, and child reads, writes, and speaks every day. And our mission is to read, write, speak, and inspire others to do the same. If I didn't educate myself, I'd have nothing to articulate a vision to a solution of a problem of. Thus,
yeah.
For me, it might be helping owners of companies get clear on their vision, their mission, their values, and create training programs within that organization to decrease turnover and increase profit. For you, it could be social media. For this guy, it could be sales. You got to get educated. You have to invest in your subjectivity.
Some of the most what are some very important things that you need to have as a business to be able to thrive in today's age, especially with automation hitting and taking away jobs?
You chopped up a little bit there for a second. Can you say that beginning part again?
What do you think are some key components companies need to have today, especially with automation hitting, where people are losing jobs, involved in their culture, to keep those employees, to keep them engaged and motivated to kind of want to work with that company instead of saying, "Oh, screw it, I'll just find a job that's going to pay $5 more."
I got a question for you. Have you ever had a boss that expected you to do something that they didn't do?
Right, a lot, yeah.
Okay. Did you ever have a mentor that got to know who you were as a person?
I did, yeah.
And okay. Did you respect them?
I did.
More than the other guy? Okay.
I would say yes.
Did you ever have a mentor that got to know who you are or who you were and also train you on things, like showed you how to do things?
I have had some, yep.
Do you respect that person more than the person that just told you what to do?
Totally.
Okay, think of a company as a macro example of that micro one-on-one relationship. The company that just expects you to show up and be awesome is the parent that never took you to baseball.
So true.
And show you to swing the bat. The company that actually has systems in place and a value system in place, like the cultural alignment from the leadership to train their people through those systems, that consistently gets to know the people by setting up that ecosystem and trains the people on the competencies necessary, the soft and the hard skills necessary to be successful, is the father or the mother that goes and ice skates with you and plays with you, that practices catch. Just like bad parents don't show up and teach you anything and care, because they should have classes on that too.
Right. So that's the same way. So that's how you build your culture. You got to get really involved in it. And then something you
spoke about. A family, a group, a community, a company, a city, a state, a country, a continent, the planet are just micro and macro abstractions of cultural alignment. It's all the same shit.
Still the same. How do you feel about letting people go? Let's say, for instance, you have an employee working for you and they're just not delivering those goals and you're really trying to work hand in hand. How do you deal with a person like that if I was a CEO or a business person?
So, okay, that's a great question. Comes up all the time, those types of questions. That is the effect of a non-cause, meaning when the vision, the mission, the values aren't clear from day one, and you don't use them to attract those that have the similar values or character of the actual company's ideology or how it operates, right, it's very difficult to hire people who align with your values. And then when you go and plug in the fact that you're not consistently having meetings and training them and creating that trust, that effect will happen more often, meaning the person that's producing less and is more cancerous to the organization.
You're right.
Most humans will produce the best way they can, and that's how you're building your company. You're not building your company off all the talented, naturally talented people. You're going to lose all the naturally talented people. So whenever someone, an executive of a company, asks me that question, we had a call yesterday with 100. They have 150 employees. They asked me that question on the call. Same answer. That's the effect of a non-causality, meaning if you had met me 7 years ago and we got clear on your vision, your mission, and values, and we used that to actually hire character, and you had a training system in there to develop skill sets, your turnover would, on average, would be 1,000% less, and your profit would be astronomically higher. There'd be less of that. And this is the thing. You don't need to fire the people then, because they will leave on their own, or their employees will tell them to get the hell out of here. It's like going into a church and you're not Christian, and you're like, hey, this doesn't make any sense. And the Christians are like, get the hell out of the church.
Exactly. Yeah, no, absolutely. So they follow in culture. They invest.
It matters.
It does matter. No, absolutely. I mean, even take a company. I used to work for Walmart years ago, and they actually had a really good culture for the most part. You go in there, you felt welcome. They had their meetings. It was nice. They had a process in place, something like that. But then you see a lot of other companies and small businesses. You're basically just hiring someone to just get that work done, and you're going to let them go in 3 months.
We could talk about Walmart for a second. Sam Walton, in this book, if anyone watching this, read the book. It's called Made in America by Sam Walton.
Heard of it, yeah.
He wrote it on his deathbed.
Really? Wow.
The guy built a $160 billion company is what it was worth. He had in cash, I believe, when he died. You'd think you want to know what the hell the guy was thinking.
Absolutely.
In the last chapter of his book, he articulates the 10 principles that he lived by, the 10 ideas in his mind that created his words, his thoughts, his ideas, his beliefs, his habituations, his convictions, and the system that he set up to build Walmart. He says it in the last chapter of that book very clearly.
One of those. And he levels that out, and then you see, or go ahead, were you going to say, finish that off?
Exactly. No, I was going to say, and you can buy that from my website. I'm just kidding. No,
exactly.
No, that book is one of the greatest blueprints for how to think in a retail person on person. This is the thing. Every Saturday they'd have the Walmart cheer. The managers are coming together and they would create that cult-like following. They create that trust. They had a blueprint to live by. And I would argue, unfortunately, with him, a lot of that died.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you see the cultures nowadays, it's basically just, go ahead. It's one of those cultures.
Say what you were going to say. It
was basically you see one of those cultures nowadays. It almost seems like a lot of the time it's obviously a dog eat dog. And I always say it like this, Jay. I think competition's healthy. It's very positive because it's a motivational tool, but greed is not, right? You have a lot of greedy people out there, whereas, they're not going to push. They're just going to stay at the top. They're not going to benefit and power those people. They want to kind of suppress people, and that's almost what seems like the 21st century is like. It's like a lot of us are going forward. They're hiding those little secrets. So guys like you and I, we come out there and we're trying to empower people, bring them up. Do you find that similar? And let's just use the United States as an example. I live in Canada, for instance, where a lot of people, there's this kind of divide, and they're trying to keep people down, opposed to someone like you that goes into a company, wants to raise its revenues, get their employees motivated, inspired. Do you find that?
Well, I would say it's interesting you bring that up. I would say that's the natural effect of the non-cause of actually thinking, because you can go based on intuitive, competent behaviors of, let's say you're a high producer. You're very good at what you do. If you keep doing what you're doing, your view of reality is going to keep being reaffirmed by all the results that you're getting. So you're not necessarily going to grow to be the next level of who you're capable of being. And what you end up finding is very, very competent, high performers are so good at what they're doing, they end up creating these ecosystems of people that are attempting to model their behavior.
Right.
And where they have a high attrition rate, because not everyone's going to be able to do that without being led. And being led versus you just doing what you're doing and hopefully they follow is the difference between a high performer that's competent and who's a bit of a dick versus a leader that shares their story, gets to know someone's story, and inspires them into a new story of what's possible. There's an education factor there that is not necessarily intuitive to everyone. Not everyone necessarily has an innate desire to teach. However, they can be taught on how to be open. Usually what I see, remember, businesses come out of conflict. Life comes out of conflict. It's the internal conflict, I'd argue, psychologically, of the entrepreneur that makes them strive to solve a problem. So these are people with serious psychological disorders that if they don't work them out, they're going to end up spreading that to everyone. So you have the average level of consciousness of a lot of these companies is at pride and desire and fear. So think about it. Anyone that's focusing at a competition is operating out of fear, desire, and pride. Those are low frequency emotions that do manifest results in a capitalistic society. However, in the society that we're moving, which is a global society where people are actually consumer to consumer society, where people have more options, they don't necessarily have to work for your company. They need to feel like they work with the company. They need to feel a sense of purpose and actualization, competent and confident at their skill and part of a greater vision. You can't operate like you were able to operate in the 80s or 90s or early 2000s. And I would argue because of technology bringing the world together and lowering the ignorances and raising the level of conscious awareness. So my point is there's a lot of people out there that are running their businesses the way that was successful as Cornelius fucking Vanderbilt, who Cornelius Vanderbilt, as much of a visionary as he was, because he saw the stock market before people saw it, he operated out of pride, desire, competition, fear, and those are low frequency emotions that are more aligned with a chimpanzee than a human.
You're right. So you got to act out.
And there's a level. You're going to reach a limit in leadership because it's not really authentically leadership. So there's an education factor there, and that's what I talk about.
And that's one of the most important things. What are some things, so right off of that, so obviously, so you're talking about operating at a low frequency. What is it that you do specifically? Because I mean, you're full energy, and right, so am I at the same point. What are some of the things you do to be able to operate at that frequency and feel fulfilled? You know what I mean? Where you get that, where you're deriving your energy and that passion from.
Energy is going to come from awareness, I would argue. So I read every day, I write every day, and I speak every day. I develop myself every day. Every day is an opportunity for a human to step into more of their humanity, which is their potential of what's possible. So if every day you are doing things like creating habituations or habits that lead to you deconstructing who you were yesterday and reconstructing a better version of yourself today, you're going to consistently grow. And you'll get better and better at whatever it is that you've aligned yourself with. Like whatever it is that you love that you're doing, you're going to get better and better at it. So have that, for example, that curiosity, interest and observation, and stick-to-itiveness. Because all of, like, who you want to be is not going to be something you wake up one day and get. It's not going to be the $1 million check. Who you want to be is who you become through the development of yourself, through deconstructing yourself every day. So some of the things that I do every day is exactly what the hell the vision statement and the mission statement of the Culture Matters is. To read, to write, and to speak every day. Yeah, exactly. And it takes those things to actually start developing as a human. I mean, that's a human conversation. That's why at IES, the Internet Earner Summit, my talk was, there's no such thing as a millennial. It was about that. I didn't even talk about company culture. But it ties into it.
No, absolutely.
It's a human conversation.
I think that talk to you, for anyone else out there watching this, I've seen a number of speakers, some of the top level speakers. And Jay, I was just fascinated. I didn't know what I was going to expect when I saw you get on stage, and you had a way of grasping that audience. It was incredible. And I mean, like I've said, I've seen high-level speakers. And that's the thing. It was funny. You see some people, they walk up there, they kick their shoes, and they leave the audience kind of bored. You had the people engaged for 20 minutes. So something I want to ask you. This is very important.
I got 11 phone numbers after. I'm just kidding.
I believe no, I believe it. But I want to ask you something for yourself. So, I mean, you get deep and philosophical in everything you do. Is death a motivator for you? Completely random.
What?
Is death a motivator for you? So you look at the Stoics back in ancient.
I'm excited. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Explain that. Go kind of digress on that. You're excited.
Well, I think when you are completely in presence with your day and who you're developing yourself as, there'd be no reason to think about that. And let's say it were to happen, I'm completely open to that conversation.
Right. Okay, that's huge.
Like, so this thing, when you don't operate out of fear at all, you don't operate, therefore those types of questions don't pop up.
No, that makes sense.
Not to mention, if you look up, this is actually kind of funny, side note, Ray Kurzweil has a great book called The Singularity is Near, 2005, he wrote it. He's business partners with Peter Diamandis. You ever heard of him?
I haven't heard of Peter. So it's Ray's the futurist, right? Or is that the wrong?
There you go. If you don't think we're going to be living to 200, you got to read some books. But anyway, no, I don't even think about it.
So you don't even think about it. It's one of those things. So how do you get over? So this is interesting. Just for general people out there, let's say operating at a lower frequency, how do you get over that fear, Jay? I mean, that you say you project the fearlessness in yourself, like in build.
Yeah.
Like, so I tell people to build confidence.
I'll give you an example. Okay, that's a good. No, how do you get over the fear?
How do you build?
If you're walking down, let's give you two scenarios. You're walking down a set of stairs. Scenario A: you have your baby in your hands, and you have a set of steak knives in your left hand. Your baby, your right arm is your set of steak knives, and it's pitch black outside. You're walking down the stairs. Okay? Scenario B: you got the baby in your left hand, you got the knives in your right hand, but it's bright outside. Which one are you more scared in?
The one in the darkness.
Fear is false evidence appearing real. It's the unknown unknowns. Life is not about finding meaning. Life is not about finding the answers. Life is about you creating meaning and creating the answers. When you don't consistently deconstruct yourself and reconstruct yourself, how? Reading, writing, sharing. Don't be a selfish twat. Get around mentors, right? The meaning of life is created by the individual. So every human on the planet needs to do two things: have a mentor and be a mentor. And it's a cycle. Have a mentor, be a mentor. And that's proven neurologically, like neuropsych. When you share, you release serotonin, oxytocin, you get dopamine. When you learn things, same thing. So that's why I talked about IES. There's no such thing as a millennial. Humans need to have a mentor and be a mentor. We need to consistently perpetuate a better version of ourselves through who we believe that we can become and the journey of getting there. That's why they say life is a journey, not a destination. It's a continual, perpetual deconstruction and reconstruction. So you're not going to be afraid of things when you've created your reality through consistently developing yourself. And there's means to do that. You hear this all the time. You hear the hollow observations from the gurus all the time. Find the mentor. Don't you become who you're around the most.
Exactly.
Stay away from the losers.
The same old BS. You kind of hear it it's kind of regurgitated.
So like under the iceberg, you just see the tip. The unconscious axiomatic thought behind that is, we need to consistently be thinking. We need to create the world. And if you don't have any awareness, if you don't see anything, you're going to live your life in the dark with the metaphorical baby and the steak knives, living in fear. And then this is the thing: you don't know who you are. You're not sure what you're doing. So, television is saying, I need money. I need women, or the opposite, right? I need a man. I need something to fulfill me. No, that's bullshit. Bullshit.
And that's how, it actually makes perfect sense. And that's what I talk about a lot of time too. Like you said, it's that clarity. When you're lacking that clarity, you look for other outlets and things. People turn to drugs, for instance. It could go a number of ways. I want to ask you something. This is super important. Like watching your transition, again, even in the last 5 months, you've exploded online. What can we expect next? Like, you're going to go in here and obviously build with these. Like, what is one of the biggest things with this cultural matter movement? You want to take this across the globe. Like, what are you looking to do in terms of scaling this, or just yourself?
So I was in Dunkin' Donuts 45 days ago, and I believe in 2065, I'm running for president.
You're going to run for president. I love that.
2065.
Give it some time, yeah. How come so long?
Well, we got a lot of actual real work to change the world to do in the meantime.
Well,
kidding. Yeah, so what's next? I have 2 books that are coming out. One is completely done. The editor is wrapping that up right now. 30 Days of Thought. It's a book to inspire the reader to read in the morning, in the middle of the day, in the evening, and then write their thoughts down, to grapple with themselves, develop themselves, to inspire them to read, write, and speak every day. So 30 Days of Thought is coming out. Dude, we got, 5 videos a day going on YouTube of value. Culture Matters has our culture meetings that are expanding in Philadelphia and New Jersey, where people come together and they learn and they grow and they get inspired. We're speaking at high schools on almost a consistent basis now, giving back to kids. We're just going to keep growing. The vision won't be complete until people on the other side of a lot of the questions you asked. And so they feel developed. And I believe that we can do that through inspiring thought, which is the effect of the cause of reading, writing, and speaking. As far as coaching companies, I'm going, all right, in the next 24 months, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Larry Ellison. Here we go. Who knows them? It's very
Everyone
simple.
knows all
Really
three of those.
You know, yeah, those are the people. Richard Branson, I'm interested in working with them.
Those are what you're going to scale out to. So my last question then, the most important one. So when you're dealing, let's just say, with a student or an individual, Jay, that's kind of down in the dumps, they think those negative thoughts, they're conditioned, i.e. programmed, to kind of be down. You know what I mean? We meet those people on a consistent basis. Oh, I feel like crap. And that's what everyone relates to. How do you get that person out of that state? What are some of the things that you're going to do to get them aligned and on a higher frequency? I think it comes better from you. What would you do?
Listen. And the question is not what's going to happen today. It's what got them or what gets them started on the continuation of tomorrow's tomorrow. It's like one thing you have to grapple with and overcome as someone that's a teacher, a mentor, a coach, an inspirer, is it is only selfish of you to expect them to change for you.
I like that.
If they move on and it didn't work out, as Jim Rohn would say, don't sign up for that class.
Right. No, absolutely.
You don't know what their path is. That is their movie. They're the writer, the director, the producer, all of it. Your job is to listen, to ask questions, and to share stories that might spark a paradigmatic shift in their subjective view of reality, meaning they might just get this new idea of
breakthrough,
who they can be. They can believe in something, because you're not going to take the time to grapple with the new idea if you don't believe in it.
No, absolutely.
Your job is to help them develop the answer within. As education is in Latin, it's, or educate, lies within. Lies within. If we define the word knowledge, for example, right? Or I'm sorry. Education. Education, definitively. It's the knowledge, skill, and judgment. Right? It's the art or process of interpreting. Knowledge, skill, and judgment. Knowledge is subjective. To our knowledge, the horse was the fastest way from point A to point B. So someone knowing that could practice riding a horse.
Right.
And then they would be judged by people. And based on how good they were, there's a hierarchy until the car came out. And then it changed. Knowledge is only as good until it isn't good. So as a coach, you're helping someone develop answers within by sharing stories, by asking questions, by guiding the conversation. And if it doesn't click for them today, that's okay.
Right. It's
supposed to click someday, hopefully, because that's the point, is your life is a construction. It's not, today I'm happy forever. What the hell book is that in?
Absolutely.
So, I would say the biggest thing to help a human be human is patience.
Which is one of the hardest things in the 21st century, right? It's that psychology behind it where people now are seeing it and it's just they want it in the snap of their fingers, and there's no appreciation.
Well, let's look at stimulus.
Right.
Let's look at stimulus. All the stimulus out there are socially constructed value system based on like who we're with or what we do or what we drive or when we're going out and what we're doing. A lot of that associates things that lower people's purpose, like drinking and drugs and sex and all this stuff that's part of our ethos. Like it's on our track. It's a difficult thing. We don't have answers for that. But patience, I think this is what's helped me. Patience, curiosity, observation, consistency, and saying no. Saying no.
Yeah.
Saying no. Saying no to the numbers. Saying no.
I like that. No, absolutely.
You want a drink? No.
No. being able to take that. I think you're honestly right on the money, and I think honestly you're an innovative thought leader with that, Jay, because a lot of people, like you said, it's almost dumbed down to a third grade level of understanding, and then they wonder why we're not hitting some of these pinnacles and peaks. And I think you're honestly one of the best I've listened to in the last while, and very interesting character when it comes to culture and the way to direct it. Like, I can tell you're completely aligned with how to make change, how to create it, how to become a leader. You are a leader. You're living proof. But that's one of the things. So where can we find you online? So for people on my Facebook, I've tagged you in it. So we got Jay Doran. Where can I find you on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube? You have over 1,000 videos on YouTube, just for people out there to close this off. Where
YouTube
can we find
is Jay Doran. Jay Doran on YouTube. Instagram is Jay Doran, a culture man. LinkedIn is Jay Doran. On Facebook, very active on Facebook, Jay Doran, Jaydoran. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. There's videos that go out every day, whether it's interviewing someone that's influential we can learn from, or whether it's a video on a conversation like this. Make sure, if you are 5'11", blonde hair and blue eyes, you swipe right on Tinder. I'm in Philadelphia. I'm just kidding. No. Stop. Don't take life too seriously, guys. No, I'm not on Tinder or Bumble. That's a distraction. I am single, though, but I'm very picky. I'm very picky.
I love
very
it. No,
picky.
Absolutely.
Yep.
This interview is about to cut there on my broadcast, but I honestly think it's been fun, and we're going to do this again, my friend. And say next time, though, we're going to do this live. You've done an exceptional job. I want you to go in there and keep inspiring people, because, like I said, I'm going to share this and blast this all over. More people need to know who you are and what you do. And I mean,
I appreciate that.
Honestly, Jay, it's been a pleasure, my friend. I can't wait for the next collaboration. Thank you for your time.
Don't do anything I'm going to do now. Just kidding.
I will.
All right.
We all will.
Bye.
Thank you. Hold on 1 second, Jay. It's going to cut. It's probably still on. Give me 1 second.